Flames danced against a midnight sky. A lone sedan burned by the side of a deserted highway, its owner nowhere to be found. In the shattered glass and charred metal lay the secrets of a life no one truly knew.
Welcome to Wiz Mysteries. Tonight we unravel the chilling disappearance of Rachel Parker. A 34-year-old single mother whose sudden vanishing not only shattered her small town, but revealed dark secrets behind her quiet smile.
Rachel Parker woke before dawn in a tiny one-story house at the edge of Timber Creek. The first light of morning was just beginning to creep over the distant pines as she tiptoed into the kitchen. On the table sat 2 cereal bowls, one with cartoon bears and the other with princesses. One for each of her children, Jake and Emily. The house was still silent, except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and a distant crowing rooster. She poured milk with a steady hand, careful not to spill. The sweet smell of syrup and toast filled the air as she prepared their breakfast. Jake, 7, with tousled brown hair and paint-stained pajamas, shuffled into the kitchen with a sleepy yawn. Emily, 4, clung to her faded stuffed bunny as she rubbed her eyes. "Mommy, do we have to go to school today?" Emily whispered. Rachel smiled gently, brushing the limp curls from her daughter's forehead. "Yes, sweetie," she said softly. "Now come on. Let's eat breakfast before the bus comes." As her kids ate quietly, Rachel kept one eye on the small kitchen clock. 7:30 a.m. She needed to make sure they didn't miss the school bus. Marcus, her ex-husband and the father of the children, had dropped them off the night before. They still worked out a cordial schedule, but Rachel felt every ounce of responsibility for the family on her shoulders. Marcus was kind, but his new life with another woman kept him busy. Rachel poured an extra glass of orange juice for Jake, noticing a small bump already forming on his forehead. Jake hungrily slurped his cereal. "Mom, do I have to go to the doctor today?" he asked, rubbing at the bump. "Just a quick checkup." Rachel replied with a reassuring smile, though her stomach fluttered with worry. The pediatrician could wait, but bills could not. She shot a glance at the clock, 7:45 a.m. The bus would arrive any minute. Outside, rain began to drizzle against the fog window. Rachel pulled her worn cardigan tightly around herself. She welcomed the drizzle. It would hide the fatigue under her eyes today. Last night's shift at McGinnis's Diner, where she worked as a bartender, had stretched late. By midnight, her muscles ached and her mind was already shifting to the next shift she had scheduled, one she never admitted to anyone. When the rickety old school bus finally pulled up, a polite but tired driver in rubber boots knelt down and called the children. "Jake, Emily, you ready to go?" "Bye, Mommy," the kids chimed as they grabbed their backpacks. Rachel waved and blew a kiss as the bus climbed away through fog and pine trees. For a brief moment, the house felt unbearably quiet. Once they were gone, Rachel closed the kitchen door with a soft click and slid into a dining chair, head in hands. The adrenaline that got her through the morning had vanished, leaving her exhausted. She rubbed her temple, feeling a dull ache behind her eyes. On the counter lay an unopened letter from her landlord and an overdue notice from the phone company. The threatening words on the page blurred through her tears. Money was tighter than ever. She took a deep breath, recalling something her best friend Karen had said just days before. That night, in a dimly lit diner booth, Karen had carefully suggested an idea. Rachel could make easy money by working extra, meeting clients in the city. The idea had been foreign and frightening, but desperate times had strange solutions. Rachel stifled a yawn and reached into her purse. Her heart skipped when the screen of her flip phone lit up. A message flashed on a lock screen. "Need you tonight. Come alone, Mr. Stone." It was almost noon, but already her mind was racing toward the night ahead. Rachel had agreed to meet this client. The payment would cover rent and more. But as the full reality of her secret life flooded back, a wave of fear and guilt washed over her. She pressed her hand to her chest, feeling it thump anxiously. By day, Rachel Parker was a devoted mother and trusted friend, the one women leaned on and children adored. By night, she became a stranger to herself, slipping into the back seat of cars she barely recognized and exchanging lies and whispered words. She had carefully erased this part of her life from every family photo and conversation, but the weight of the secret never left her shoulders. That afternoon, she cleaned the house quickly, trying to erase any sign she would be gone overnight. She washed a few dishes, made the bed, and even set a coffee pot on the stove timer. When evening fell and the kids were back with Marcus, she packed a simple suitcase, an extra blouse, a change of clothes, toiletries. She zipped the bag carefully and hid it under the bed. She didn't want her double life spilling out if the kids ever came home early. Before leaving, Rachel stood at the nursery door where light shone through clouds and stars-themed curtains. Jake and Emily, now back in her care for dinner, sat watching cartoons on the couch. She crouched beside them quietly. "Mommy's just stepping out for a little while," she whispered, brushing Jake's hair out of his eyes. "Don't worry, I'll be home before you know it." Emily looked up, eyes wide and innocent. "Okay, Mommy," she said, snuggling into her big brother. Guilt pricked Rachel's heart, but she forced a tired smile. "I love you both, forever and ever. Don't worry, I promise." They returned the hug, and soon Rachel quietly lifted the laundry hamper and slid out of the room. She locked the door and slipped out the back, unnoticed, pausing only to feed the cats who greeted her with expectant purrs. Nobody could know why she was really going out that night. She crouched in the shadows by the cornflower blue sedan she kept, kissing its hood as if to say goodbye. Then she drove off, headlights cutting through the mist. The road, Evergreen City, was familiar. Rachel's route took her over winding country lanes fringed with dark pine trees. The night air was cool, nearly cold, the highway lights smeared by rain. Road flares turned to a blanket of stars overhead as she reached the outskirts of town. A radio drama played softly in the background as Rachel's fingertips drummed nervously on the steering wheel. The clock glowed 10:58 p.m. She arrived at the Larkspur Roadhouse gas station at 11:15 p.m., exactly on time for Mr. Stone's instructions. The station was almost empty, neon lights flickering, a lone attendant dozing inside. Rachel pulled over to the pump. Outside, the smell of gasoline and pine was heavy. She shut off the engine and stepped out into the damp night. Footsteps echoing on asphalt alerted her to a silhouette approaching from the shadows under an amber street lamp. Her phone vibrated with one final text from Karen. "Be safe. Call me when you get home." It fluttered unanswered in her jacket pocket. Mr. Stone emerged from behind the pump. Tall, broad-shouldered, face obscured by the brim of a cap. His voice was smooth, polite. Rachel gave him a half-smile as he greeted her. He held a single orange rose, a strange wedding band glinting on his finger. "Evening, Rachel," he said, slipping into the passenger seat as she unlocked the car. "Thank you for coming." The car door shut with a click. They sat in silence for a moment, the neon sign reflecting off the polished hood. Then Stone reached out, gently touching Rachel's hand. His skin was cool under the glove he wore. She shivered at his touch, partly from fear, partly from cold night air. As the attendant's footsteps faded, Rachel glanced at him. "Let's get going," he murmured. "We have a long drive." She nodded and started the engine. The road out of the station stretched empty and dark. He hadn't said much on the ride. She wondered if he was nervous too. When they were several miles away, Stone finally spoke. He said his name was really Richard, a consultant on temporary work, traveling through town. They talked in muffled voices, exchanging small talk about the weather and kids. She lied about having none. He said he had a son back in Cleveland, but something felt off. Richard kept glancing at the rearview mirror, as if expecting something behind him. The only sound besides a motor was the rhythmic blur of rain on the windshield. At one point, Rachel thought she saw a flash, headlights in the trees, but it vanished instantly. Richard pulled off on a turnout, overlooking an empty valley. "I'm not much for formalities," he said quietly. "I just wanted some company tonight." He reached across, hands warm on her knee. Rachel's heart raced. She should have left long before, she realized. In sudden panic, she unbuckled her seatbelt and jumped out of the car. Her bare feet slipped on the wet gravel. "Stop," she screamed. But Richard was already out of the car, too, closing in. He laughed softly, and that's the last thing Rachel heard before darkness swallowed her. At 3:17 a.m., a weary long-haul driver turning off the highway noticed an orange glow off to the side of the road. He slowed to a stop and rubbed sleep from his eyes. The sedan, the same one he'd passed hours earlier, was engulfed in flames. Tires had melted. The seats burned to ash, and a blistering heat radiated into the cold night air. The driver's breaths came in ragged gasps as he dialed 911 with trembling fingers. Detective Jordan Ellis arrived first on scene, sirens slicing the silence. The area around Jones Canyon Road was rugged and remote, surrounded by towering pines. The only light came from the fire and the flashing blue and red of police cruisers. Detective Ellis pulled her jacket tight against the cold and approached the inferno with caution gloves and goggles. Beside her was her partner, Detective Marco Ruiz. "The car's been torched," Marco observed grimly. Heat radiated against his chest as he moved closer. License plates melted, but that VIN stamp is still visible. This is Rachel Parker's car. Detective Ellis's stomach turned. She had known the case name, but meeting the evidence was different. The car, their primary victim Rachel Parker's car, was practically unrecognizable. Only its frame remained. The windshield lay shattered, gaping into the charred interior. All fabrics were gone, seats and carpet reduced to dull gray ash. She tapped at the handle, hot to the touch, and felt a faint click from the lock. With careful gloved hands, she swung the door open. Inside, everything was blackened beyond recognition. The steering wheel was a melted blob, metal framework exposed. Papers and coins, charred and fused, littered the floor. Strangely, a half-crushed gasket lay on the back seat. A metal shaving dented into it as if struck. Ellis scanned the ground. Tire tracks vanished into brush beyond a broken orange cone. No body, no blood, no physical sign of Rachel or any other person. Yet his boots left deep impressions in the soft pine needles underfoot. Someone had been dragged from the car. "Detective," a constable called. Got her ID wallet intact in the glove compartment. Marco emerged holding a waterlogged laminated card. Ellis took it and nodded. This was surely Rachel's car. Sirens and headlights illuminated the canyon. The acrid smell of smoke hung in the air. Occasionally a passerby motorist stopped in the darkness, rubbernecking at the blaze. One woman dropped to her knees on the roadside, sobbing silently. Inside the fire-orange glow, the detective knelt and found one more clue. A cell phone half-burned in the front seat. Screen cracked, but some metal surviving. She carefully bagged it as evidence. By dawn, news of the discovery had reached Timber Creek. In the sheriff's office, Detective Ellis took the phone call that would set the investigation in motion. "Sheriff's office." A uniformed officer answered. "Patel, it's Detective Ellis. We found Parker's car burned on Jones Canyon Road." Ellis said softly. There was silence. Then, "Is she?" the officer asked, voice trembling. "No sign of her at the scene," Ellis replied. "Get homicide on standby. This is missing person territory now." In a nearby farmhouse, Marcus Walker was jolted awake by a frantic ring on his cell. The clock blinked 7:02 a.m. Disbelief flooded his face as he listened. "You're sure?" he whispered. "Her car burned? Please, tell me you found her." Ellis's voice was gentle but firm. "Marcus, we need you to come in. Can you do that?" Panic pooled in Marcus's eyes. "Where do I bring the kids?" he asked. "We'll handle everything here," the detective promised. "Stay there, keep them calm. We'll explain everything when you arrive." Marcus nodded silently. Hanging up, his world tilted. He wrapped Emily tightly, as if she were still the small baby he once held in his arms. "It's okay," he crooned, voice cracking. "It's okay. We'll find Mommy." By mid-morning, news vans clogged Timber Creek's Main Street. A reporter's voice crackled from a TV in a diner window. Authorities confirmed that local mother of two, Rachel Parker, is missing after her vehicle was found burned early this morning on Jones Canyon Road. Sheriff's deputies urged anyone with information to come forward. Detective Ellis and Ruiz started interviews. First, they visited Marcus. He arrived at the station disheveled, children clinging to each hand. The investigators took Marcus aside, out of earshot. "You were with your ex-husband, yes? When was the last time you spoke or saw her?" Ellis asked gently, looking at the crumpled funeral program in Marcus's hands. Marcus took a shaky breath. She called me last night when I picked up the kids, he said. I thought she was at the bookstore, but she hung up fast, saying she had to handle something urgent. I had to leave for my own trip. I flew out for my mother's funeral. Ellis glanced at the program. It was dated yesterday morning. Marcus continued. I was on the road home when I got the call from the sheriff. I don't understand why Rachel would lie. We had our differences, but after the kids, I couldn't hurt her. Detective Ruiz took down Marcus's alibi. He had been at a remote funeral home ceremony at 9:30 p.m. with dozens of witnesses. His tickets and hotel receipt confirmed he was out of state that night. Back in the squad car, Ellis turned to Ruiz. He seems panicked, but not evasive. We'll note him as person of interest due to the kids, but at least he has an alibi for the disappearance window. Ruiz nodded. Next they went to speak with Karen Hall. She owned the small craft shop in town and had been Rachel's best friend since childhood. The detective found Karen in the back storeroom, surrounded by yarn and fabric, face pale. She grabbed a chair as they entered. Detective, Karen cried softly. I knew something was wrong. This isn't the kind of person Rachel was. She squeezed a tissue in one hand. Karen, Ellis said kindly, we know Rachel confided in you about something. Anything you can tell us might help. Karen hesitated, then let out a sob. She was desperate. Rachel told me about a client, a certain Mr. Stone. He paid well, promised better life. I didn't think it was dangerous work, she said, eyes filling with tears. The day before she disappeared, she texted me saying he was acting strange. Ellis raised an eyebrow. A client named Mr. Stone? Yeah, Karen nodded. He was older, charming, paid cash, always wore gloves. She said something fell off, but she needed the money so badly. She glared at the detective. I had no idea how bad it would get. Detective Ellis glanced at the notes in her notebook. What time did she say she'd meet Mr. Stone? Around midnight, Karen said, voice trembling. I begged her not to go. She just kissed her kids goodbye and left. Ellis pressed on gently. Did she say anything to you on the phone the night she vanished? Karen's hands covered her face. She tried calling me a few times after 11 p.m. I was asleep. When I saw all the news this morning, she trailed off, head buried in her hands. The detectives exchanged a look. Karen had provided critical information. The name of the client and the time of the meeting. They now knew Rachel's secret half-life, but not yet how it explained her disappearance. On the drive home from Karen's, Ruiz asked, What do we have so far? Ellis exhaled slowly. Secret client named Stone. Midnight meeting, burned car, no body. Ex-husband's alibi checks out. Mystery man who paid her life-in-debt money. And the kids, we need to keep them safe. He parked near the school to pick up Rachel's children from after-school care. As Jake and Emily climbed in, Jake asked, Why did we come here, Daddy? Marcus replied softly, Just meeting some friends. Bud. It's okay. He handed Detective Ellis a small babysitter's card. The child care provider had been hired by Rachel last week. In the car that afternoon, Rachel's kids asked endless questions. When is Mommy coming home? Emily whimpered. Marcus's voice cracked as he said, We don't know yet, but we'll find her. Rachel's strong, sweetie. The detectives watched from outside as the children's eyes filled with trust and fear. In that moment, Ellis felt a deeper determination. We will find her. That night, the investigation broadened. Detective Ellis and team gathered at the precinct's whiteboard, listing facts. Burned car, no corpse, mysterious Mr. Stone, no sign of forced entry at Rachel's home, and no ransom demand. The coroner's report on the car ruled the fire was deliberately set. Accelerant traces were found. Police computer records showed Rachel's last phone call at 11:47 p.m., a call to an unidentified number, the one listed as Mr. Stone on Karen's contacts. Then at 12:03 a.m., a call to Karen, which went unanswered. After that, Rachel's phone went dead, battery drained by fire. The only other call that night was a 5 a.m. voicemail from Rachel to Marcus. Kids are safe, I promise. Love you. This message was intercepted by her voicemail, unheard by Marcus until morning. This Mr. Stone, is our biggest lead," Detective Ruiz mused. By afternoon, they'd identified him. Richard Stone, a 52-year-old investment advisor from a nearby city. But when officers arrived at his home, they found Stone confused and indignant. He showed his ID and multiple phone bills. "I told her to be careful," Stone said, shaking. "We had a pleasant evening at one of my vacation cabins. She thanked me and left at midnight. Drove off. I thought she decided to stay the night with a friend." Stone was cleared as a suspect. He had proof, credit card receipts and key card entries at the resort that night. But he admitted the relationship with Rachel was not professional. He thought they were dating. He said Rachel wanted to quit and travel with him. She was frightened by something, he confessed. But he insisted he had nothing to do with the fire. Meanwhile, Detective Ellis spoke with Lily Chun, Rachel's co-worker at McGinnis's diner. Lily, a shy single mom, had no idea Rachel's secret. She told the detectives that Rachel had seemed distant lately. She always had that sad look, like she was afraid of something. When asked if she knew Mr. Stone, Lily shook her head. But she noticed something odd. On the night Rachel disappeared, Lily's boyfriend, Mark Thompson, had been home unusually late, driving off just before midnight in his black pickup truck. Lily watched him leave through the kitchen window, unease creasing her face. Detectives noted this. Mark was known to have a criminal past, petty theft. Dismissed years ago, they added him to the list. In his statement, Mark acted surprised. "Lily is worried about her friend?" he asked. "I didn't even know Rachel was missing. I went into town to pick up groceries." He claimed to have receipts from a convenience store at 11:55 p.m., precisely when Rachel's calls were happening. If true, he'd have an alibi, but detectives collected the slip as evidence. It was dated 11:57 p.m., from a 24-hour marked 5 miles from the station. If Mark's alibi held, the window of the arson was right around midnight. The detectives turned their attention back to Rachel's last known location, at the gas station. They retrieved the security footage. In grainy black and white, Rachel's car arrived at 11:45 p.m., the silhouette of a man in the passenger seat. She refilled gas. Meanwhile, at 12:01 a.m., the camera caught a black pickup, Mark's, parked 2 cars behind. Mark, unmasked, stepped out, hands in pockets, as if waiting. Detective Ellis paused the tape. "There," she said. "We see him." The officer next to her zoomed in on the timestamp. Mark stepping back into a truck at 12:04 a.m., driving off just before 12:06. 10 minutes later, the station was empty except for flickering fluorescent lights and the drone of a fan. No sign of Rachel after she left. Unless Rachel never made it back to that car, Ruiz noted. Maybe something happened right there at the station. Suddenly, the station video from 12:08 a.m. showed something startling. A flash of flames across the highway up ahead. The exact location of Rachel's car. But who said it? The footage was too distant to make out. Detectives scoured databases and found surprising lead. Lily's prints were a partial match to something found on the back of the gasket inside the burned car. Lily's palm oil residue was on the nozzle. Ellie sat up. How did her prints end up on a kid in Rachel's car? They re-interviewed Lily. She cried that she had no idea. She hadn't been near Rachel's car except on their lunch breaks. Detective Ellis gently said, "Lily, your boyfriend's truck was at the gas station that night, and your prints are on something used in the arson. We found out you and Rachel talked that evening. Tell us what happened." Lily trembled. After a long pause, she confessed in a trembling voice, "Rachel, she threatened me. She found out I'd been taking clients for money behind her back. I needed the money. I couldn't let her ruin everything." Tears fell down her cheeks. "I didn't mean for her to die. It just got out of control." Detective Ruiz took the statement as Lily wove a grim tale. Rachel had discovered Lily operating her own hidden side business to pay bills. Confrontation turned violent. Lily said Rachel lunged for her phone. A struggle ensued near the pump. She insisted she push Rachel, who hit the nozzle, flooding gas. Then the car went off its handbrake, smashing into a cement post with Rachel inside. In panic, Lily said she threw her cell phone, with her personal number on it, into the car and sped away in Mark's truck. Meanwhile, Mark, unaware, drove his own route home. The detectives called Mark again. Confronted with the store receipt and Lily's accusation, he broke down. He admitted he had followed Lily out of the diner that night. He thought she was just picking up supplies, but when he noticed a burned car later, he panicked and drove off rather than stopping, fearing he'd be implicated. By late evening, the pieces came together. Detective Ellis summarized the team. It wasn't Richard Stone. It wasn't Marcus. It was Lily Chun acting alone. Rachel discovered Lily was living a secret life too. In the chaos, Lily set the fire to cover it up. The trial of Lily Chun was swift. In the spring of the following year, Redwood County Courthouse was packed. Prosecutors presented the evidence: cell phone records, the video of Lily's truck, Mark's receipt, and Lily's own confession. They also noted the contradiction in Lily's story. More gas was found spread that happened in a simple scuffle, and Rachel's clothes had no defense wounds, implying she hadn't attacked Lily first. Lily, a small, pale woman in a gray courtroom suit, took the stand. She sobbed and apologized, saying, "I never wanted any of this. Rachel was my friend, and I was just so scared I'd lose everything." The jury listened in tense silence. Rachel's mother, Elizabeth Parker, attended daily. During testimony, she sat quietly with Jake and Emily by her side. When Lily's guilt became clear, Elizabeth let a single sob escape. The children hid their faces. Outside court, Marcus stood tearful, softly kissing each child on the top of their heads. After 2 days, the jury returned with a verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Lily Chen's eyes widened as the foreman read the sentence. The judge's gavel fell, final and heavy. Lily wept uncontrollably as she was let out in handcuffs. In the months after the trial, Timber Creek felt both relief and tragedy. Lily's conviction brought justice, but at a great cost. The community held a memorial in the town park. Hundreds lit candles under the oaks. Friends and neighbors spoke of Rachel's kindness. Mark, reading from a folded note, said softly, "She was a fighter and a loving mother. We must remember her love, not only her secrets." Jake and Emily, now 8 and 5, grew closer to their father Marcus and to their grandparents. They visited a small, quiet cemetery on the outskirts of town, where a simple gravestone bore their mother's name. "Mommy's up here, Jake," Emily whispered, pointing at the angel carving on the stone. Marcus knelt with them, wiping Emily's tears. "She's watching over us," he said quietly. Behind them, the evening sun painted the sky orange red, a hopeful color. Behind closed doors, questions still lingered. Detective Ellis reviewed the case file in silence one night. She scribbled in her notebook: known facts: Rachel Parker, 34, single mom, double life as escort. Car found burned. No body recovered. Client Stone was alias. Lily Chin confessed with motive inconsistencies. Why exactly did Lily pour so much gas? No surveillance of Lily after she fled station. Questions: did Lily act alone in the struggle, or was someone else involved? Did Richard Stone truly have no clue, or was he another hidden party? She turned off the desk lamp and looked out the window at the still, starry night. A cold wind rustled the papers on her desk. The case was closed, but the picture was incomplete. One could almost think of all the things left unsaid. The secrets burned along with the car. Secrets only the night would keep.
In conclusion, consider this. Rachel Parker's story reminds us that even in a quiet town, darkness can stir behind friendly eyes. We may never know every detail of what happened on that desolate stretch of road, but some things are clear. Her double life cost her more than she bargained for, and the true danger came from someone she trusted. If you or anyone you know is living in a dangerous situation or carrying a heavy secret, please reach out for help. Speak to friends or professionals. Your life is worth more than silence. And to all of you watching, remember to cherish your loved ones. Tell them you care and stay vigilant. This has been Wiz Mysteries. If you found Rachel's story compelling, subscribe to our channel to hear more true crime narratives. Share this episode to keep her memory alive. We may not always solve every mystery, but together we can make sure no story, no voice is forgotten in the dark. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you next time on Wiz Mysteries.